Hey everyone, I am doing a new video called Healthy Relationships. I recently became an Uber/Lyft driver. Absolutely love it. I get to pick the brain of them and they get to pick my brain, and we just learn from each other about life and different experiences, and it's the greatest thing in the world. But one thing I did learn, which was awesome, was an analogy about relationships from one of my clients/ riders, if you will. And he said to me, Dave Chappelle, who used to be a comedian, would do a show for Comedy Central. I think he did it for 3 years, and he was watching a documentary about tribesmen and baboons and their relationship with each other. And so the tribesmen would go to a new place that they didn't know, let's say, right? And they needed water. So what they would do is they would have the baboon, they would make a hole in the rock, and they would put a little pebble in that hole, and the baboon would stick their hand in and then close their hand around the pebble because they were curious, and when they tried to pull it out, they couldn't pull their hand out. So then they would take the baboon and they would put a leash on them or whatever and keep them there. They would put a salt lick below them, and the baboon would lick the salt because that's what baboons like, is they like salt. And for 2 days, they would have this baboon lick the salt, and this baboon would not get any water. Well, then once they would release the baboon from the leash, the first thing the baboon wanted to do was go get water. So the tribesmen would follow the baboon to fresh water. And so Dave Chappelle saw this and thought, wait a minute, Comedy Central is like the tribesmen. They are using me to gain the resource of money, and I'm the one doing all the work. Just like the baboon is basically doing all the work, right? The baboon is finding the fresh water, doing all the work for the tribesmen. The tribesmen are just like, haha, we're going to outsmart you, and we're going to use our relationship with you to get to the resource we need the most, is fresh water. So the moral of the story, the meaning behind it is, when you have a relationship, make sure that you are not always the baboon. You do not want to be used and abused. You want to be the tribesman sometimes. You want to have a reciprocal relationship. So it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a business, a company, a friend, a spouse, a family member. You want to make sure that your relationships are healthy. And a healthy relationship is one where sometimes, sure, you might be the baboon, but guess what? In that instance, they're the tribesmen, but in the end, you may be then the next time the tribesmen and they're the baboon, and you are, quote unquote, using each other, but in a healthy way, right? You're getting something out of it mutually. You are helping each other prosper. And so the moral of the story is my hope for you is that you can look at your relationships, analyze them, and then in future relationships as well, look and think, am I the one that's always searching for the fresh water so that the other person doesn't have to, and they get to use my abilities? Or are they giving to me as much as I am giving to them? So with that being said, I really hope that helps you with understanding relationships, and I think the story is super cool and helps me understand the difference between a healthy relationship and an unhealthy relationship. With that being said, hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Peace, love, and a whole lot of happiness. See ya.